Hey everybody, and welcome to this A+ 1201 practice test. Today, I'm going to take you through a performance-based question, a pretty simple one, and then after that, I'm going to give you one question from every exam objective. So it should give you a pretty well-rounded idea if you are doing all right and are on track for your exam. Here is our first performance-based question. So we have a variety of different connectors over here on the right, and we have the equivalent description or name of those connectors over here to the left. So it is going to be your job to visually identify what connector each of these is and drag and drop the appropriate name for that connector over here in the relevant box next to the picture. So pause the video now, have a go, even just write down some notes. What do you think each one is? Pause the video now, have a go. Your answer is coming in 3, in 2, in 1. Okay, hopefully you paused and had to go. This one up the top over here is an RJ45 cable. Now, this is an Ethernet cable. This is what we use to connect wired in a wired manner to the internet. Now, it looks quite similar to the one underneath it directly, and that can make it tricky, but it can also make it easy if you know how to tell them apart and what distinctly to look for. Okay, before I give you that distinction that will make it really easy to actually say, oh, this is RJ45, well, this is a different one, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the answer to the second one here. So this second one is an RJ11. Okay, they both sound similar, starting with RJ, and they both look similar as well. RJ45 is for wired Ethernet connections, and RJ11 is for telephone connections. Now, they look similar, but if we zoom in, we can actually see that the RJ45 cable has more of a rectangular look to it, whilst the RJ11 is smaller and has more of a square look to it. And that is essentially going to be the difference. Obviously, you don't want to be relying on that method in your exam. You should just know. But if you are stuck, know that the difference between these two RJ cables that will help get you past questions like this is RJ11 is smaller and square and is for telephones. RJ45 is larger, more rectangular, and is for wired Ethernet. All right, that's going to be the distinguishing factor that will get you through that. Hey guys, this video is sponsored by the A+ Core 1 and Core 2 Ultimate Learning Guide. This learning guide has helped many people pass their Core 1 and Core 2 exams, meaning that they can move on to their Network Plus and Security Plus sooner rather than later. In the learning guide, here's what you will get. Detailed notes, revision notes, active recall questions, and multiple choice questions for every single exam objective. 3 full-length practice exams with performance-based questions, a document with performance-based questions, a video showing you exactly how to study using multiple choice questions so you will be moving ahead of 99% of other people at a much faster rate because you are studying more effectively, a video giving you test-taking tips in case you get stuck on a question in the exam, a video showing you how to use free AI tools to 10 times your study sessions, and best of all, I want this to be accessible to everyone regardless of your economic position, so I've made it extremely affordable. So if this sounds good to you, you can head over to journeytocyber.com and grab your A+ Core 1 or Core 2 learning guide today. This one here is going to be an F-type connector. This is the connector that we use for cable television and cable internet connection. It's a very specific look with a metallic circular outside and that single pin going in through the inside. That single connector, the F-type connector, is used for cable television and cable internet connections. If you see that circular look with that stabbing kind of pin on the inside, sorry, not pin, that stabbing, what would you, connector in there, then you know that is an F-type connector. All right, important to be able to identify that. This one here, what could this be? This is in fact going to be an LC connector, one of the 3 possible options here that are fiber connectors. Now, an LC connector is square, but there is another fiber connector that is also square, so it's easy to get confused between these two. The simple way that I use to differentiate between the LC, which looks like this, and the SC, which looks quite similar to this, is the LC, I think of that the LC stands for lock. And the LC has this little mechanism here, which essentially, once you push it in, it snaps and locks it in place. You have to push down here so that you can release it. So the LC has a lock, whereas the SC does not have that mechanism. So that is an easy way that I identify that. And I differentiated between those cables when I was taking my exam. We then move on to this cable here, which is, in fact, yes, I'm sure you got this one right. Hopefully you did. This one is a micro USB connection. Now, there's really four kind of different USB connections you need to know about. You need to know about your regular USB, which is like your normal rectangular one, the one that looks like that. You've seen it, the rectangular USB that you see all over the place. That's USB-A. That's like the regular connection for keyboards and mice and things to that effect that you plug into your laptop. You then have your USB-C, which is this more oval shaped one. You can plug this in upside down. This is the most modern USB connection method. It has the highest speeds. And really, if you're using a modern device, it's probably going to have USB-C at this point. Fastest capabilities, that you can plug it in upside down. That's pretty much the top of the line at the moment. But then you have these two other ones. You have the micro USB and the mini USB. These are basically two smaller variations. The mini USB was really old and is used to connect to older mobile devices with smaller connections. And the micro USB is a little bit newer. It's kind of like USB-C's dad, and then mini USB is USB-C's granddad. All right, so USB-C is the most modern for smaller devices. Before that, it was micro, and before that, it was mini. So if you have a really old DSLR camera or anything like that, it may be a mini USB. And if it's something a little more modern, it might be a micro USB. And then your modern smartphones that are Android or even some iPhones, some of the newer ones have a USB-C connection. So really, you just need to know the differences between those different USBs for that one. Now, this last one here is a DB9 cable. Okay, you can generally tell it's very old serial cable. You can just tell it looks old, right? DB9 cables used to connect directly to network infrastructure in order for direct configuration with some of the older ones, right? Very, very old cable. With that being said, let's go ahead and get to our first multiple choice question for this practice quiz. The first one from Objective 1 reads, Michael is a freelance consultant who spends most of his days hopping between various client sites and working from temporary setups like coffee shops and co-working spaces. He emphasizes his need for additional connectivity, such as connecting his laptop to an external monitor, keyboard, headphones, and mouse. Which accessory is Michael most likely to choose for his needs? A port replicator, B, a docking station, C, both offer the same level of portability and functionality, or D, neither. He should use built-in ports only. I'm going to give you 3 seconds to answer this question before I give you the answer. Answer is coming in 3. Pause the video if you have to. 2, 1. The answer is going to be A, port replicator. In this particular instance, a port replicator best meets the individual's needs. First of all, what is the difference between a port replicator and a docking station? Port replicator is essentially a very small portable device that you plug in usually through USB or USB-C that might have like a USB port here, a USB port here, a USB port here, maybe an HDMI port here, and another variety of port here. And it's designed to be very small and very portable, right? So you can plug it in, take it around to multiple different sites. In comparison to that, a docking station is a particularly large device or a particularly large station which has connections for all of these wide variety of different peripherals that you may require, but due to its size, it's generally going to stay located at a desk. So if you worked in an office, you might have USB 1, USB 2, USB 3, maybe HDMI 1, HDMI 2, power connector for your particular type of laptop that you need here, connects to something else over here, to your mouse and to your headphones, right? It's got everything you need, but it's heavy and it's specified to your laptop, but it's generally going to be staying in one place. Whereas the port replicator is going to be portable and you can take it to multiple client sites. And that is exactly why in this particular scenario, we wanted the port replicator, because it is small and portable and easy to take to various client sites, which is what this individual needs to do. Whereas if he had a docking station, he's not going to fit that in his bag. So port replicator is less specified to the particular laptop, but is smaller. Docking station is highly specified to the laptop, generally speaking, but it needs to remain in the one place because it's not very portable. The other options just simply are not true. All right. Now, moving on. Let's see what the next question is. But first, that came from exam objective 1.2, particularly just looking at that highlighted section there, so you can get an idea of what you are going to need to be studying for that exam objective. The next question from exam objective 2 reads, a business is deploying a new high-performance wireless network to support its ever-growing data needs. The new router operates across 3 frequency bands, 2.4 GHz, 5 GHz, and 6 GHz, and advertises a peak data rate of about 40 gigabits per second. It also incorporates enhanced multi-user MIMO technology, supporting up to 16 spatial streams, and utilizes a 320 MHz channel bandwidth to maximize performance even in densely populated environments. Which IEEE 802.11 standard is being described? Is it A, 802.11a, B, 802.11be, C, 802.11ax, or D, 802.11ac? Oh my goodness, your answer is coming in 3, in 2, in 1. And your answer is going to be B. The answer is B, 802.11be. There are a few different specifications that could have given you this answer, but essentially, guys, in order to get this answer right, you need to have a pretty fundamental understanding of this table here, which is essentially outlining the variety of different 802.11 standards, their data rate, their frequency bands, whether or not they have MIMO or multiple user MIMO. And you're going to need to get your head around this. So you could have potentially identified that through a wide variety of different characteristics that were given, but particularly the giveaway was 40 gigabits per second is just the only one that can do that is 802.11be. Therefore, that has to be the option. That also does operate across all 3 frequency bands as specified in the question. All right, so you're gonna need to take a screenshot of this, study it until your fingers are falling off. Okay, take it shopping with you. That's literally what I did when I was studying. I would write this stuff down on paper, take it shopping, and do it like a flashcard. While I was grocery shopping, my wife, I think I drove her crazy, but I did it, I passed, and that is my method. So you need to be familiar with that. That's really the only way around questions like that. Okay, so that came from exam objective 2.2, and specifically only looking at 802.11 standards. So quite a small section. You can see how in-depth this exam can get sometimes. Moving on to the next question from exam objective 3, which reads, a specialized research laboratory is establishing a high-performance computing cluster. They require reliable and high bandwidth connections between their compute nodes and a central data storage system. The network must support the 10BASE-T Ethernet standard and be capable of handling bandwidth up to 600 megahertz to ensure efficient transfer of large scientific data sets. The environment may have some electromagnetic interference from sensitive scientific equipment. Which of the following best meets these standards? Is it A, Cat5e, B, Cat6a, C, Cat7, or D, Cat8? Your answer is coming in 3, 2, 1. That is going to be C, category 7. Now that best meets the requirements of 10G base T Ethernet standard and 600 megahertz. Let's take a look at why that is. All right, Cat7, 10 gigabits per second or 10G base T tick and is the only one that operates at 600 megahertz. Cat8 does more than that, but it's significantly more. And generally, if it's significantly more, it's going to be significantly more expensive. So if we have one that meets the standards and there's no need for any expansion, there's no justification for spending that additional money on category 8. Therefore, category 7 could be the only correct answer. So again, this is one of those times where it is going to be a matter of getting your head around the table. Take this shopping with you as well, guys. You're going to need to pretty much know all of this. Unfortunately, I hate to be the guy to tell you that, but it is the truth. Now, that came from exam objective 3.2, looking at basic cable types and their connectors, looking at categories of copper network cables. Again, you can see how in-depth this exam can be sometimes. So hopefully this is giving you an idea of roughly where you're at on these components of the exam. The next question reads, James is setting up multiple virtual machines on a single physical server. To efficiently manage these VMs, he uses specialized software that allows them to run independently while sharing system resources. This software ensures that each VM remains isolated, optimizes performance, and controls hardware allocation across virtual environments. What software is James using? A, AMDV, B, X-Tech, C, Hypervisor, or D, Digitizer? Your answer is coming in 3, 2. Please make sure you do, in fact, pause the video and have an attempt at this question. 1. Your answer is C, Hypervisor, guys. The Hypervisor is What is responsible for managing virtual machines? You do need to use the specialized software of a hypervisor in order to manage virtual machines, okay? AMDV is something that has to be enabled on AMD CPUs in order to do virtualization. You have to make sure that is enabled on the CPU, otherwise you're not going to be able to utilize virtualization features, but it is not particularly the software that manages those VMs. Xtech, I made that up, unfortunately, and Digitizer is what allows you to use touch screens. It translates your touch into data that the computer can use. So that's why C, hypervisor, was the answer. And that came from exam objective 4.1 there, specifically looking at hypervisors. And you can see that you'll also need to be able to differentiate between a type 1 and type 2 hypervisor before you take your exam. Now, the final question for your exam for this quiz is, during routine network maintenance at an office, Laura, a network administrator, observes that the link light for one of the Ethernet ports on a network switch is experiencing port flapping. This particular port connects to a printer, and users have been experiencing intermittent connectivity as a result. Upon an inspection, Laura confirms the Ethernet cable's functionality. What should be her next step? A. Replace the damaged Ethernet cable with a new high-quality cable and test the connection. B. Install a loopback plug to simulate proper data transmission on the port. C. Update the switch's firmware to eliminate any internal bugs. Or D. Monitor network traffic to determine if excessive load is causing port flapping. Your answer is coming in 3. Pause the video, please, before you hear the answer to this question. 2, 1. The answer is B. Install a loopback plug to simulate proper data transmission on the port. So a loopback plug, hopefully that's ringing a bell. It is a tool that you can plug into a port, and what it will do is it will simulate data transmission. So it will be able to send and receive data all on that particular plug or that tool. So you can test, hey, is data being sent and is data being received? At what point does this fail? And you can actually see, okay, if I plug a loopback plug into this port, and that fails, that means the port is the issue. Whereas if you went straight away to replace the damaged Ethernet cable, maybe the cable wasn't the problem. Maybe it was the port. So it's important to test the port first with a loopback plug. That's why A was not correct. Updating the switch's firmware, again, there's no reason to suspect the firmware is the issue before we do a simple test on the port. Always do the simple stuff to begin with. And D, monitor network traffic to determine if excessive load is causing port flapping. Installing a loopback plug is a simple step that we can do pretty much instantaneously. Therefore, it is the first thing we should do to quickly and easily eliminate or identify what the issue is. So hopefully you guys did in fact enjoy this little practice quiz with a simplistic performance-based question at the beginning. If you want to get the learning guide, which is helping people pass their A+ Core 1, Core 2, and now Security Plus exams as well, you can head over to journeytocyber.com/1201. Click the link there. Click the link in the comment down below or in the description and get your copy today. This is all from there, and I basically virtually, like, you're going to pass if you buy this. So go ahead, click the link in the description down below, and I'll see you in the next video.